Hello everybody, this is System Chalk. I'm going to be giving you a guide to Amplitude Studios' Dungeon of the Endless, and specifically its menu system. Keep in mind that this game is currently in an early release, so the information is effective as of patch 0.2.1, but Amplitude is going to develop this game faster than I can release videos for it, and so some of this information may be out of date depending on when you see it. Without further ado, let's start by taking a look at characters. In order to access the character sheet, you go to the top right-hand corner and you select this arrow here. The information that's provided in here is a little bit of a biography, the stats that they have, but one of the most important things about the character sheet is it's the only place where you can level up your hero. It does also show a cost of food, and so even if you get enough food, you are actually going to need to hit the button in order to level up. If you mouse over the button, it is going to show you what benefits that you gain. And one important thing to remember in this game is that if you don't understand something, chances are putting your mouse over it is going to give you some information. So you can see here that HP represents the same thing that it does in any other game. You get your damage per second through this, which is a function of attack power and attack cooldown. One stat in particular that I want to draw your attention to is wit. Wit, when you work a resource module, is going to give you a bonus to resource production. Now, not every character can operate a resource module to begin with in the game. Dina Ratchet can because she has this passive skill Operate. You'll also see that her companion Sarah has this ability as well, but her wit is 7. And so from the beginning I've already got some decisions in terms of who will open the doors. I would want Dina opening the doors while Sarah stays back and works on the resource modules. Another advantage here is that Sarah has a speed of 40 while Dina Ratchet has speed of 28, and so she can run from base to the combat faster. Alternatively, if Dina Ratchet were to get something to improve her wit for whatever reason, maybe a better idea to move Sarah in the front lines because she can run back to base where the defenses are faster. Again, you can see that there are a few different playstyles that come up depending on the characters that you begin with, as well as the situations that you like to find yourself in. The next menu that you want to take a look at are the resources here. Now you'll notice to begin with that dust doesn't have autonomous production like industry, science, and food. The reason for this is that dust represents your health in this game. Monsters will be able to attack your crystal, which decreases the amount of dust that you have. If it gets to 0, you lose the game. The other thing that dust allows you to do is power rooms. Now we haven't opened any rooms yet, and so these represent the potential to power. You require 10 dust to power a room, and so I can power 2 at the moment, and I'm a little under halfway to powering the 3rd room. You can gain dust through a few events, but namely it's usually through defeating monsters or selling items to merchants. Next resources that you're probably going to encounter are food or industry. Now you do face a little bit of a decision about which one you want to put some resource points into developing first. Personally, I like to improve my food to begin with because my characters do represent something of an investment and I usually don't want them to die. Putting some food investment inside of them makes them more survivable. It also potentially increases their ability to work resource modules, especially for characters that don't have that passive ability like my 2 have here. So overall, it's also an investment in terms of my ability to produce in the future as well as withstand monsters. Alternatively, what I could do is put some investment inside of building up my industry. That's going to allow me to build larger defenses, and if I have a fairly good defensive position, especially with lots of combat modules and a good choke point, it doesn't necessarily matter that my characters couldn't handle the monsters on their own, just simply because they're going to be in a room that does most of that work for them. If I wanted to be building these items here, resource modules can be built in the bottom left-hand corner here. Again, putting a mouse over will tell you what you gain by these modules, and it'll tell you your cost here. An important thing to keep in mind is that when you build a resource module, it's going to increase the cost of the next one. So in addition to the fact that you have a limited number of powered rooms, these are going to increase in cost, and you may find that it's not worth it after. The last resource to take a look at is science. Science represents your long-term success in the dungeon. It does have its own autonomous production, but you will notice that it's not enough to build your research if you encounter an early artifact. The only way that you can take advantage of research right now is by encountering endless artifacts by opening rooms. You're going to be presented with 4 options to increase or to improve or gain new resource modules or defense modules here. You'll notice that we don't have any hindrance or support modules yet. Upgrading the resource modules costs quite a bit more than new defense modules in here, but if you do decide to do research, you're going to have to take 3 turns to complete the research, and if the endless artifact is destroyed in between then, you lose your science and you don't gain the additional blueprint. So the effect of an endless artifact, if you decide to do research, is going to mean that you have a new point to defend, And generally, characters that have food investment will improve it, unless of course you happen to be lucky and get a endless artifact which is near a powered room, and so you can wind up building some defense modules around it. Keep in mind though that that does also mean that you're dedicating both science and industry towards improving it. So things to keep in mind while you use your characters. The final menu that we'll explore here is your inventory. Presently I don't have anything because I'm at the beginning of the game, but when you gain new items, they will not automatically be equipped on a character. You do have to double click them on the character that's selected. So if I double click an item in the inventory here, that goes on Dina Ratchet. If I had Sarah open here and I bring up my inventory, even if I don't have the character sheet open, double clicking is going to put the items onto Sarah. Now, another important thing about the inventory is that if you leave the floor of the dungeon that you're on and you have items in the inventory, those items are gone. So if I happen to decide that Sarah is my fastest mover and I want to get the most out of the movement of the crystal, and I decide to equip her with all of the highest movement items, all of those combat items that I might have gotten rid of to allow her to use them, I'm going to lose them for the next floor of the dungeon, and if she's the one who's going to be opening the doors, it may not be a trade-off that I'm willing to make. This also means that if you encounter a merchant in the dungeon, it's usually a very good idea to sell off the items that you're not using. There's generally not a tremendous benefit to keeping marginal items for a character that you may or may not be able to hire. That represents the menus of Dungeon of the Endless. I don't have the resources to continue recording a video while there's monsters on the screen. If you have any questions that you'd like answered about the game or have any topics that you'd like to see covered, do feel free to leave some feedback inside of the comments. If you'd like to see anything else in terms of the game, you can also leave a private message, or if you'd like more information about the game in general, you can check out my Steam guide, which is linked below. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed Dungeon of the Endless.